Bueno, damos inicio a la conferencia siguiente, How to Find Your Animate Project, Innovative Ideas to Make It Happen. Esta conferencia será dictada por Caroline Desmarais, quien se desempeña como Co-Founder and Chief Strategy Officer en ReachStar Entertainment. Por favor, un aplauso para ella. Un aplauso para ella. Bienvenida, Caroline.
Muchas gracias. Tengo mucha emoción de estar aquí hoy. Si no les molesta, voy a dar mi speech en inglés, pero primero quería dar las gracias al Ministerio, también a Liliana Rincón, Verónica Beude, para esta oportunidad de estar aquí con vosotros en Bogotá. All right, I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Caroline Desmarais. I'm originally from Montreal, Canada. So French is my first language. And for me, languages have always been an important way of connecting with different people. So I was speaking French growing up and English and eventually learned Spanish. I then went to university in the United States where I studied philosophy. I've always been interested in these bigger questions in life, like what is our purpose? How can we live a good life? What are we meant to do here? These questions that I had came from the fact that I have a younger brother who is mentally handicapped. And growing up, I realized that I had certain opportunities that my brother would never have. And therefore, it gave me a sense of gratitude for my life, for my intelligence, and for opportunities that we all have that we're so lucky to have. And that motivated me to make the most of my life, whatever that meant, all right? I then went to law school. Law school was not something that I wanted to do, but it was something that my parents wanted for me. So as young people, you're often confronted with this reality of trying to do what you're supposed to do and also balancing it with what feels right to you. So I went to law school and I am happy that I did, and I learned so many things while I was in law school. But really what it showed me was that it didn't resonate with me on a heart level. And I would encourage you always to listen to your own intuition, because you're the only person that knows what's right for you at every single point in your life. You might ask people for their opinion, but their opinion will be their opinion based on their experience. The ability to quiet yourself in a practice. I practice meditation daily, and I've been doing it for over 20 years. And when I quiet all the noise, I'm able to think about what I really want for myself in my life. And the stronger that inner voice gets, the more you trust yourself and the more your authenticity shines and comes out. And that's important because it allows you to connect with other people who also have similar passions and similar visions for their life. So the greatest gift you can give yourself is honor yourself, your true self, and your intuition. I finished law school knowing I did not want to go into law. And I had an opportunity to work in technology. My father is a venture capitalist, so this felt like a familiar environment because I heard about it a lot growing up. And I was hired as the sales director for a new technology that was working with Twitter at the time. And when you're given these opportunities, actually, in fact, some advice that I received at the time is opportunities are like galloping horses. They only come around once. So when they do, you jump on them. And so I told myself, all right, let's go. I was sales director of this company, and when you do get the opportunities, whatever those are, you show up, you know? And that means you show up for the people you work with, like creating genuine connections with them and trying to help them in their work and doing the best work you can possibly do. In my case, that ended up working out very well. The company had a board of directors that was all men, old men, and I was 29 at the time. And I got called into a board meeting. I had no idea why. Obviously, I felt like I was at school and maybe I was in trouble for something. And I went in and they said, we've just decided unanimously to name you CEO of the company. And of course, in my head, one of the panelists was talking about the imposter syndrome. I thought, like, am I being pranked? Like, is this a joke? But then right away, the other voice was, no, like, step up and take this opportunity. So I said, absolutely. And I think the point here is you don't need to know everything. You will figure it out. There will be resources and people that will help you every step of the way. So whenever you see a door open by this amount, you walk in. And it ended up working out very well. I learned more than I could have ever imagined. I had amazing people mentoring me and helping me in this role. We ended up exiting on the company, which was the objective. And I went on vacation to Bermuda to kind of celebrate this success. And then when I was in Bermuda, I thought to myself, I would really like to live on an island. And I was like, how can I make this happen? So I started asking different people about the industry in Bermuda, and there was one big media group there. And so I said, okay, well, who's the CEO? I'd like to just meet him for coffee. This is me on vacation. And so I ended up meeting the CEO of the company, and he was from Canada, and we connected. And one thing I would say that I think works really well when you're like at the beginning stages of your career, or any time actually, to build a connection, ask the people about them, you know? So instead of trying to prove yourself, because you don't actually have to try and prove yourself, you just have to show up and share someone's vision and be willing to do the work. So I asked him about himself and about his journey and how he ended up in Bermuda and about his vision for the company. And I started giving him certain ideas where I thought I could also contribute to his vision. Of course, for him, this resonated because you end up finding people that share your vision. And on the spot, he said to me, would you be willing to move to Bermuda and work for our company? And I said, yes. So I went home, packed my bags, and moved to Bermuda and became the chief development officer of this big media group in Bermuda, where I ended up working on many different projects, from some projects with the Minister of Education. We were running the daily newspaper, which was a really interesting way to get to know the country. And eventually ended up moving to London, and that's when I felt like it was time to move to a new stage in my career. Again, this was listening to my intuition. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be the leader of that which I was doing. And so I moved to London, and I started a technology company with two other guys that I had known through mutual contacts. I didn't know them that well, but we had a shared vision of what mattered to us. And so we founded a technology company, and we have an app, and the app helps people in their journey, in their well-being. Right now, the app is in physical therapy clinics in the United States. I guess my point is you just find your people, and when you do, it's just an amazing feeling, and you just know when that happens. And so we're doing great work in the technology company. However, I was always very interested in film, and I did some acting growing up, and I really liked it. My godfather was a producer, much older than me, and he always talked to me about the film industry. And I think part of my journey was being around people who were older, mostly men, to be honest, and just learning everything I could, asking questions. You don't have to know everything. There's always going to be someone there to teach you. And we said together as a goal that someday I would produce films with him. Fast forward to this time where I was in London, which was about 7 years ago, and sadly he passed away during COVID. And I said to myself, I'm going to dedicate my production career to him, and I'm going to start looking for opportunities, because when you start looking, they appear. And I started looking for opportunities in film production. I hadn't studied film. I didn't know where to start or what to do. One thing I've always been quite up to date on is social media, because when I had that first job at the technology company, I had to be very up with social media, and I continued it all around. So I had these guys I saw that were doing a documentary on fasting and the healing benefits of fasting. So first of all, that resonated to me because I'm interested in well-being I like helping people feel good about themselves. Like, we're all energy, and if you feel good about yourself, you're gonna bring an energy that's going to yield success and opportunities and happiness and fulfillment. Okay? And it's your responsibility to curate your own energy, whether it's through exercise or meditation or doing things that make you happy, surrounding yourself with people that make you happy. These guys were making this documentary on fasting, and they were saying how they had made the documentary, but they were short a certain amount of money. It was $150,000. And they were gonna do some crowdfunding, they weren't sure. So I reached out to them on Instagram and said, guys, do you need help raising money? I didn't even know where I was gonna raise the money, but I just felt like helping. So they said, yes, we do. So we got on a Zoom. They were in Sydney, Australia. They're still great friends of mine to this day. And they explained to me the project. I was able to watch the film. And then I said, okay, let's identify people in this space, in fasting, that are successful, AKA that have money, that would be interested in sharing this message as well. And we identified a couple of experts in fasting, one specifically that was in the United States, that's obviously doing very well, and pitched it to him, and he said yes. And he decided to put the $150,000 in. He also, in return, was featured in the documentary. They did an interview with him. So, I mean, you can't even pre-decide how these things can happen, but when you find other humans that care about things that you care about, that's when the magic starts to happen. So I became executive producer of that film and ended up negotiating a distribution deal with Gravitas for international distribution, and it's on Amazon. It's called Fasting, the Healer Within. That kind of kick-started my film career, and then I continued to associate with people in this industry and try and look for them. So what I did was I reached out to my godfather, who was the producer. I reached out to his lawyer, okay? And I connected with him, and he said to me, why don't you come to the Cannes Film Festival with me? I was like, wow, Cannes, like this is a dream. Like, I mean, life goals, you know? I couldn't even believe that I would be going to it, but I said, okay, fine, I'll go. So I went to Cannes with him. We went to a dinner. He introduced me to a couple of other producers, and we just got along really well. And I think like one of the coolest things in film, particularly versus working for a large corporation, is that you can choose to work with people that you want to work with. And like that's the thing that's like the most enjoyable about my job, is that I can choose who I want to work with and create these beautiful projects and share these messages with the world. It's almost like you share this higher purpose with these people. So I met one producer. I ended up producing a couple of films with him. He's older as well, and was happy to kind of just, and I say to people, look, I don't have that much experience. You know, I would love to learn from you. And you know, when people are successful, they get to a point in their career where they've made money, they have success, and what feels good to them is to give back and teach other people and get the next generation going. And so I've produced some with him, and then also I met my co-founder from ReachStar Entertainment, which is the company that I'm currently running. I'm Chief Strategy Officer. So the lawyer who I was having dinner with said to me, this guy is the best writer that I've ever met. And to me, that's just amazing, you know, because I'm not someone who can write. Like, I can see creativity, and when it resonates, I want to put the financing behind it to help it come to life. But I'm not the artist. Like, I'm not the person that's going to create that. So I have such respect and admiration for the people who get these creative ideas and want to bring them to life. And so I ended up speaking to him, reading some of his scripts, and we decided to go into business together. I mean, he lives in Canada. I ended up going back to Bermuda, actually, after London, PS. So I've been back in Bermuda for about a year. But all the same, I'm running the same companies the same way, because that's the world we live in. And thanks to technology, we're able to do this. So we now have a slate of films that are in development, and it's amazing how different things have come together. Last February, I was in Berlin, and I met another woman, Daisy. And we just connected, like on a human level. We're both mothers, we're both women, and we just got along super, super well. And then she started talking about this project, Diamante. She's from the Dominican Republic. And also, because I speak Spanish, we were able to connect on a level, perhaps, that was more organic, you know? So that's obviously something that helps when you can relate to people in their language. So she told me about this story. It's a little boy from the Dominican Republic whose dream is to become a professional baseball player, which is often the situation in the Dominican Republic. So many professional baseball players come from the Dominican Republic. I have this like really large kind of interest in humans and relating different cultural experiences from different countries to the rest of the world. So that's why, like, I'll encourage you in whatever you're making, think about how you can share it, of course, with your country, but also with the world, because people want to learn about different cultures. Not everyone has the advantage of being able to travel, but nowadays we can share messages and human experience from different cultures with people from different countries. And you will align with financiers that also believe that this is important when you start to do that. So Daisy's explaining this story to me. The whole thing ends up coming together. We ended up forming a co-production with their company, and also Veronica is with that company in Spain. So now we have a co-production of Canada and Spain, and we're able to access different benefits because you have the Canadian and Spanish co-production. So for instance, in Canada, we have very good tax credits. And so if you have a project, this was all, by the way, only with a pitch deck. There was no script still. And we were able to raise, I think with the tax credits, we're probably at, I don't know, 18 million for a $25 million movie, just based on a pitch and tax credits, and then people coming in and wanting to hear. So we ended up finding a company, DNEG, and the main guy at DNEG is crazy about baseball. So it just happens. And he's like so passionate about Diamante, he's pushing it forward for us. And so you end up aligning with people in the Dominican Republic. Of course, people want to help us produce the film. It's showcasing their country to the rest of the world. So I would say, like, when you have an idea for any type of project, look for the people that you think the project would interest. Yeah? I recently invested in a movie that talks about a female artist and how she had to go through struggles to be an artist and be a woman. I do work in women's empowerment in my life. I'll tell you a bit about my personal story because I'm happy to share it. I think there's maybe sometimes a misconception that when someone is successful, that life has always been easy for them. And that's certainly not the case. I'm super grateful and I've had a great life, but there are always things that you are having to overcome and get through. I had gotten married in Bermuda and had my daughter, and my ex-husband became very abusive. And he was drinking a lot of alcohol, taking drugs, and I kept hoping he was gonna go to rehabilitation, and he didn't. So when my daughter turned 1, I said to him, I'm sorry, like, I can't continue this way because I have too much that I want to experience and live, and this was really, really bringing me down personally, and I didn't want my daughter to have to be around that. So in that point in time, I opened up to a charity that was working with women, the Women's Resource Center. And I made this whole event for International Women's Day that got the attention of the United Nations, UN Women. So on social media, UN Women reached out to me because of this event that I put on, all stemming from this really difficult personal experience that I decided to take and make it something there I could help other people who were going through the same thing. Because I had a good job at the time, and that's why I was able to leave that relationship. And I realized, like, how many women could be in situations like that and be completely stuck and not be able to get out of them. So the UN reached out, and since then I've done 8 other big International Women's Day events with UN Women, and I'm also a delegate for the Commission on the Status of Women. So now part of my identity is someone who wants to empower women because I went through this experience, and therefore certain filmmakers who are making films that are on the theme of empowering women reach out to me and find me somehow because they know it resonates. So in the same way, if your films are, or whatever you're building or working on, have messages that are specific, find your people, you know? And a lot of the business contacts I have are just contacts of contacts. And then it's not that you have to have access to all of this money, but someone will, because people will care about what you're making. Anyways, so yeah, basically that brings me to here where we are. Of course, I'm not sure in terms of you guys, like if you're all in animation or in technology or what you're studying, but I really am encouraged to see young people taking interest in learning on how to make the most of their career. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do, and I love meeting people who know, like at a young age, what resonates with them. And I would encourage you to, I mentor several younger people, and I say to them, like, seek out your people. One girl I mentor, she's 22, and she didn't know where she wanted to work, and I said, go on LinkedIn, and don't only research companies, research people, because you're gonna be working for a leader. You're gonna be working for someone that you have to believe in. And she found this company and a CEO, and she sent it to me, and as a favor, I reached out to him, and because, I don't know, because I'm a CEO or whatnot, he answered back, and I said, I have a girl that I'm mentoring who would like to have an internship with you, and she ended up getting the internship through this. So just, there's so much in you that you should just follow, and I think sometimes the biggest barrier to making things happen is that for some reason we don't believe it could happen to us, or maybe we're not worthy, but we are all worthy. You know, every successful people, think of people who you admire that you might not know, that inspire you. They were exactly where you are at some point, and they did not know what they were doing, and they went through many failures, but what makes projects and people succeed is carrying on with the vision and knowing that as long as you hold that vision for yourself and you keep getting back up and trying, it will always end up manifesting and coming to life. So mindset is your biggest power. Like, I don't care if you have to write affirmations on your fridge to say, you know, I am worthy, I am healthy, I am successful, I am talented. It doesn't matter what it is. That's not being arrogant. That's self-belief. And your self-belief is your gift to the rest of the world, because if you believe in yourself and are able to get your work and your projects out there, you're going to be able to touch so many more people. And like, that is effectively our purpose, right? Is to honor the visions we have for ourselves, share the messages that we are here to message, to share with the rest of the world. Each and every one of us has a unique purpose and message, contribution. There's a reason we're here. And just keep focusing and asking yourself those questions. When I meditate every day, I ask myself 4 questions that I learned from Deepak Chopra, this amazing spiritual leader that I studied meditation with. Who am I? That's a really weird question, right? But really, like, who are you? What do you stand for? Who's your true self? What do I want? Every day I remind myself what I want. How do I want to feel? What is my purpose? And your purpose can be a big purpose, or it can be a very simple purpose for that day. And what am I grateful for? feeling grateful and gratitude and saying thank you in your mind or out loud or journaling it will bring you opportunities and energy that feels like magic. Synchronicities that you can't even explain, like, and then I met this person and then this happened. And you know, when everything is just in the flow, and this happens when you're on a vibration of openness and gratitude. And that again is completely within your hands to get yourself to that place. So yes, I'd encourage you to do that. Definitely believe in yourselves. You all have everything it takes. And in terms of like the specifics of film financing, like, I don't know if you guys are studying that or whatnot, but like all the resources are out there. One thing that is great to look for is any type of grants, any events even that are going on, like you're doing right now. Like, I honestly applaud you for being here, because this shows you're taking initiative. And this exact type of behavior is what's gonna get you all the way till the completion of whatever project you're working on. Then you have investors. Again, you look private investors that are interested in the same type of topics as you are. The universe will take care of the how. You just focus on what you want to do and why, like what is driving you, and the how will come together. Trust in divine timing. It all is going to work out, and have 100% faith in that. And surround yourself with people who believe in you, with people with whom you can share your ideas, who aren't going to make you feel silly for thinking big or wanting to do something different. Those are the people. It's called a mastermind group. I have like 2-3 people in my mastermind group that I really talk about all my goals with. And these are people that will never question what I say. They're just going to be like, amazing. They're never going to be like, really? Do you think that's going to work? No. Your mastermind are your people that wholeheartedly will always believe that you can. And those people are really special, because you'll have times of doubt where you're not sure if you can. And those are the people that will remind you of why you're doing this and what you want to accomplish. All right. Other than that, yeah, so equity financing too. So for instance, for our project Diamante, we found a studio to pitch to for the animation film, and they offered to invest in the project also. So not just produce it, but like invest in it as well. And then once they invested, they had friends that had a film fund. So there are these film funds where people have millions of dollars and they invest in film. You know, I'm not super familiar with who those people are in Colombia per se, but the world that we live in, you can access people from different countries and pitch projects and collaborate. There are no limits. So think big. Film funds out there, the money's out there. Like, it just actually is, you know? And so when you go with this idea that it's out there and it's possible, that's when things start to happen, you know? There's development funds, again, grants, like we said, private investors. I think that's about it, but I have no doubt that you'll be able to find the way. Just take care of yourselves. Make sure that you're happy with the work you're doing, and that will shine through. Everyone loves investing in someone who's passionate and believes in the project that they're working on. And then one more thing is, my father being a venture capitalist, he said to me, 9 out of 10 companies in which he invests fail, but one ends up being extremely successful. And he said the one that ends up being extremely successful is not because it was a better idea or a better business proposal. It's because of the human capital that was working in that company. They worked well together and they made it happen. And the ones that failed is because the humans in the company didn't make it work. So don't underestimate the importance of working with great people, but also managing your human interactions while you're on a team. It's like being a professional athlete, like in a team. You're all on the same team. And whenever conflicts arise, you communicate openly and you remind each other as an anchor. your vision for what you're accomplishing together, because that's what's going to get you all the way over any type of human conflict that may come up. Let me just check the time. Perfect. All right. We're about at half an hour. I did want to leave the floor open for anyone who had questions. I don't mind if you ask me in Spanish. I can speak in Spanish too. Yeah, I'm here. Like, I genuinely love inspiring people to reach for the stars, whatever that means for you. It's the best feeling when you have a goal and you end up accomplishing it and you do it with people that become like family. It's the best thing ever, you know? There's a quote that says, when your work doesn't feel like work, it feels like play, you know you're fulfilling your purpose, right? So let's do work we care about with people we care about and share important messages with the world on an international level, because people want to hear from all of you. They genuinely do. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Yeah, I think.
Vamos a continuar entonces con un espacio de preguntas. Tenemos un par de preguntas y continuamos con el panel.
Hi, my name is Andres Camilo Duran, and thank you so much for coming here. Sorry, I feel really inspired with you with your story and that. And my question is, how do you overcome the biggest fear of many people of of don't be good enough with your projects and and that.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for the question. How do you overcome the fear of not being good enough? I love that you're asking that, because in my experience, if I was to say the one thing that holds people back from being their best self and having their best career, is that somewhere inside of them, they don't feel like they deserve it. And that is the work that we can do on our own. Honestly, it's possible. You can read books about self-empowerment. You can even do coaching. Surely, I would imagine you have someone who believes in you, like even if it's your mom, and so, or your spouse or your best friend or whoever, and feel how it feels, how that person looks at you, and little by little, we can train ourselves to start to believe in ourselves. And at the beginning, it feels so silly, but to be like, I am worthy of living my best life. I am worthy of being my best self. For me personally, because I don't mind sharing like my tips, like how I get there, exercise has always been that for me. Like, even if I go for a half-hour walk, or I go for a run, or I do a yoga class, I will feel self-empowered after exercising. So that for me, it's like such an easy way every day of making myself feel, I come back from the gym, I come to my house, I have a home office, I put on music. Like, music is the quickest way of changing your vibe. I go to the gym, I feel powerful, I put on music, and then I go, and then I'm dancing, I'm like doing whatever, and then I get on my calls. And the energy I'm bringing is like enthusiastic and full of life. And your brain is really adaptable. Even if we've had years of believing that we're not good enough, you can start changing the neurons on how they wire. Like, it's actually a thing in neurology, and you just stop thinking those thoughts. And I have a good friend of mine in Bermuda who's a reggae singer, and I said to him, his name is Collie Buds. He was actually nominated for a Grammy last year, Emmy. And I said, how do you go on stage and perform in front of all these people, singing? It's like, I find it very impressive. He said, I'm nervous every time before I do it, and that voice in my head says to me, what are you doing? Like, this is, feeling like doubt. And he goes, not today, not today. So whenever you see these thoughts that are starting to bring you down, where maybe you're not worth it, not today. And you replace it with a statement that's uplifting. Everyone is worthy. We are born worthy. Like there are no one is any better than anyone else. That's just like actually the reality. And so when you can start to embrace that and really start to believe in yourself, you'll see changes happen, you know? Yeah. Anyone else?
Sí, Caroline, gracias. Tenemos una pregunta más por acá.
Sí.
Mi nombre es Geraldine Macías. Me siento muy inspirada y motivada con tu historia.
Gracias.
Realmente quisiera saber, aparte de empresaria, mencionaste algo importante y es el empoderamiento femenino.
Sí.
Me gustaría saber, conocer si tienes alguna red de empoderamiento femenino donde las mujeres, donde de pronto hago algún semillero donde las personas puedan empoderarse para poder desarrollar su idea y poderla llevar a cabo sin temor, sin inseguridades. Gracias.
Sí, bueno, hay varias. Y Verónica te puede hablar de Mi Ánima, que es una organización para mujeres que trabajan en animación. ¿Sí? ¿Trabajas en animación? No, bueno, no pasa nada. Lo buscas. Hay como organizaciones en todos sitios que sean online o que sean en tu ciudad donde puedes conectar con otras mujeres. Y cuando encuentras a mujeres que trabajan en estas organizaciones para mujeres, seguro que te van a dar la bienvenida con brazos abiertos porque es su propósito, quieren ayudar a mujeres. Y te diría una sugerencia sería, vas para aprender, pero vas sabiendo que tú también vas a inspirar a otras. Eso es donde como la magia empieza a crearse. Cuando tú estás aprendiendo, pero estás también hablando de esto y ayudando a otras y de repente estarás en un punto donde serás tú que estás inspirando a las mujeres y te van a venir a buscar para aviso y todo. Sí. ¿Bien?
Gracias, Caroline. Muy interesante tu charla. Gracias por compartir tu historia inspiradora para todos los presentes hoy.